Barry Goldwater, the biggest Republican in like the 60s and 70s. Here's what he had to say. Mark my word, if and when these preachers get control of the Republican Party, and they're sure trying to do so, it's going to be a terrible damn problem. Frankly, these people frighten me. Politics and governing demand compromise. Compromise. But these Christians believe they act in the name of God, so they can't and won't compromise. I know. I've tried to deal with them. And understanding they were this way in the 70s and they're still this way today, you understand why they start to fit in with some of the Frankenstein parts of the Republican Nationalist Party. Just think of the white nationalists that make up a significant portion of the GOP. They also believe that their skin color makes them pious. They believe that they are so right and will not compromise with anything. I mean, how long did it take him to get a Speaker of the House? Because what? Because the Congress sometimes takes compromising with Democrats? They won't compromise with anything because they believe they are right. And just like the evangelicals, they think they're victims, right? They think they're victims who need an authoritarian to set things straight, to set things right, to make their worldview not the worldview of the majority of the people in this country, but their very narrow worldview a reality. Persecuted because of who they are. Indeed, the evangelical and the Proud Boy, they both are the victims and the aggressors. And that is one of the major defining characteristics of fascism. That may trigger you, that may make you mad that I'm using that word, but that's how fascism works at its core.
Immunity
let's just
from
watch
prosecution, even for things that cross the line, including, as his lawyers argued in court recently, for killing political rivals. This is what he said at a rally in New Hampshire last night about that.
You're going to have to give the president, you're going to have to allow a president, any president,
power
to have immunity so that president can act and do what he feels and what his group of advisors feel is the absolute right thing. Otherwise, you're going to have presidents that are totally impotent. And we've had enough of them already. So having immunity
all you got to do is
important,
listen to
and
these
I hope
people.
the Supreme Court has the courage to do that.
So
do you
watch
agree,
this,
should the president have total immunity even for things that cross the line?
Of course not. The amazing thing about that clip is he was dead serious. He wasn't even making one of his ridiculous jokes. He was dead serious about that.
Yeah.
That should get everybody. I don't care what political party you're from, whether you're an extreme conservative or a socialist liberal.
You do care,
everybody
though.
should be concerned with that type of mentality going into the White House.
And yet you are saying if he is the nominee, that you are going to support him. How can you say that you'll support him?
Look, at the end of the day, I think most Republicans are going to get behind the Republican nominee. I'm hoping that it's obviously Nikki Haley. This is how bad Joe Biden is. 6 months ago, Trump couldn't beat Biden. This is how bad Joe Biden is. Inflation
and it comes
is
back
crushing
to Joe
middle and
Biden.
Families across this country.
Hold on. This is like when the abusive husband says, "Why do you make me hit you? Why do you make me hit you? Why is Joe Biden making us vote for this fascist? Give me a f***ing break."
We're weak on the international stage. We haven't secured our border. Even Democrats have agreed that he's been completely incompetent and not on the ball there, so to say. So this is where we've come, where Joe Biden is so bad
Stop
that
coming
even
up with
folks would
excuses.
get behind Donald Trump.
And yet you're saying that the comments by Donald Trump, everyone should be worried about that. You have said earlier that Trump's rhetoric and actions contributed to the January 6th insurrection. How can you support someone who you believe contributed to the insurrection?
We're here in New Hampshire in the First Nation primary. No one's really thinking about the general election right now. If you want to beat Donald Trump,
everyone's thinking of the general election.
Don't sit on your couch. Don't wait for it to happen. Don't
Everyone's
wait for some
thinking
external
of the general
factor or
election.
court case to take over. You got to get out and vote. Whether you're undeclared Republican, getting that vote out is how you beat it. That's democracy.
But despite all of these comments, despite his comments on immunity, despite what you said about the insurrection, you would still vote for Donald Trump in a general election against Joe Biden?
According to the polls, most of America would. This is
how pathetic can you be? It's almost like a comedy. And it'd probably be funny if 35% of the country didn't think this way. I mean, this chud goes on about how terrible Donald Trump is, how what he's doing is illegal, how he's not joking anymore. And then at the end, the lady says, well, will you still vote for him? Will you still vote for this guy who's up there talking about controlling the courts, authoritarianism, who you just said is saying illegal shit. Will you still vote for him? Well, yeah, if he's the nominee. And what does that remind me of? What does that take me back to? Catholic school. Who made God? He just is. Republican Party. Why is Trump your leader? He just is. Worshipping of politicians never ends well for that country, especially if they're a democratic republic like us.
By the way, they never report the crowd on January 6th. You know, Nikki Haley, you know, did you know they destroyed all of the information, all of the evidence, everything, deleted and destroyed all of it, because of lots of things. Like Nikki Haley is in charge of security.
Nancy
We
Pelosi
offered her 10,000 people, soldiers, National Guard, so whatever they want. They turned it down. They don't want to talk about that.
He said Nikki Haley 3 times.
That isn't a mix-up. The reality is Nikki Haley.
She wasn't speaker.
Nikki Haley is relying on Democrats, just like Nancy Pelosi, to try to have a desperate showing in New York, in New Hampshire.
Wait, but he was talking about January 6th.
President Trump has not lost a step. He is a stronger candidate, stronger than he is today, than he was in 2016 and he was in 2020. Compare that to Joe Biden's weakness.
In one breath, they will go from Trump saying Nikki Haley for Nancy Pelosi. He said it over and over. That clip didn't get it, but he said it like 5-6 times. He said Nikki Haley was there on January 6th and she wouldn't release the National Guard. Joe Biden has dementia. He doesn't know where he's at. But when Trump does this, he's being sarcastic, right? Did he look sarcastic to you? This is to say that others, and myself included, spent way too much time pointing out the hypocrisy of the religious people supporting Donald Trump. The hypocrisy of the churches. The hypocrisy of the self-appointed pious people. Instead, we should have been talking about how Trump was the perfect segue, the perfect on-ramp for these groups, these radical, religious, Christo-fascist groups, to catapult themselves onto the national stage. If you like this channel, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Also, you can now join if you want to support the channel. You can get special emojis, a special chat during the lives, I think. I got to look into it. I've only added 1 tier. I don't have the other tiers ready to go yet. But you can support the channel that way. And just tell your friends. Thanks for being here. If you don't like the video, give it a thumbs down. Write in the comments. Write in the comments how I live in the basement of my parents' house. Something like that. It hurts. It hurts when you write that. So know if you write that, you're stinging me. You're hurting me. The Chud Report.
How good did Elise Stepanek do?